Yeah, let's talk Diego.
Devin, go first, man. I want to tell you guys a story first. It was 2005. We were in Abu Dhabi. Was in California. Miguel brought me in to work Abu Dhabi, and that was absolutely the greatest time in MMA history for me. That was the most amazing time in my life. From driving around with Big John and to everything about it. Boss Rudin. I told Boss Rudin he had a nice fat dick. Thank you, Marlouse, for that. Marlouse, where's my Marlouse? That's for you. You dirty fucking Duchess. I love you, baby. So, Marlouse told me, oh, I'm going to teach you some Dutch for Boss Rudin. Anyways, back to the story. I picked up Diego at the airport, right? And, of course, now Diego is this huge superstar all of a sudden.
I'll interrupt you just really fast, say that we're talking about Diego Sanchez, who's fighting Michael Chiesa this week. So continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Diego Sanchez is a huge superstar all of a sudden. He's the pit bull. He wasn't even the nightmare back then. And, he's doing the meditation and, he winds up just destroying people that no one thought he would win. He had these wailing punches and stuff. He had like sloping shoulders. He didn't have that imposing look. Chris Lieben was on that show. And that's where the MMA boom came from. And I pull over to pick him up at LAX, and Sanchez gets in the van, and I go, and I get ready to go around and like open the door for him, because he's a superstar and all that. And I'm trying to do my part. And Diego's like, bro, I'll get my own door. Thank you, though. And that's the kind of guy he is. And he talked my ear off for an hour and a half in 5 o'clock traffic, trying to get back to the hotel. And he never took a breath. I think that he has. And then there's this other side of him when he gets in the ring and he gets hit, where he just, something is different about that man. And if he wasn't an MMA fighter, and no disrespect to him, but maybe he'd be a serial killer or like, an assassin or something, because he's born to fucking hurt people. And he's fantastic. And he's one of the most entertaining fighters that the UFC has ever had. And I just wanted to start out with saying that. Sorry, go ahead, guys. Talk about it. And I love Michael too. I can't wait for this fight. This is the fight that I really want to see.
Hear this out. April of 2005 was the finale of the first Ultimate Fighter season. April of 2005. Here are the first 4 seasons of the Ultimate Fighter. They're the winners and the runner-ups. Because remember, a lot of them had 2 weight classes. So
yes.
The first season winners was Diego Sanchez and Forrest Griffin. Runner-ups, Kenny Florian and Stephan Bonner. Keep in mind, from that same season came Josh Koscheck, Chris Lieben. Several different names came out of that season. You go into season 2, you had Joe Stevenson.
Keith Jardine, he was in there, the actor now.
You in the second season, you had Joe Stevenson and Rashad Evans, Luke Kumo and Brad Imes. Third season, you had Kendall Grove, Michael Bisping, Ed Herman, Josh Haynes. Fourth season, Matt Serra, Travis Luter, Chris Lytle, Patrick Cote. Not until the 5th season, when you get to Nate Diaz winning, do you find a lot of recognizable names there, but there's only one guy that's still standing.
That's right.
And Diego Sanchez. He's still around. All the rest of them have went on to...
Well, Diaz...
What? Well, I said not until you get to season 5 of Diaz.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, yeah.
And, but we're talking about season 1. 14 years in the UFC. And, they just...
And not an easy fight. There's no such thing as an easy fight for the guy.
No, I mean, they just inaugurated him and Clay Guida's fight to the Hall of Fame. And you could have done that with the Carl Parisian fight. You could have done that with the Nick Diaz fight. You could have done that with the Gilbert Melendez fight. You could have done that with the BJ Penn fight even.
Hey, does he win greatest cut of all time, or does that go to Marvin
Eastman. Yeah.
Eastman's got the greatest cut, right?
Yeah,
but Diego's second.
Yeah, that was. I also think BJ Penn's greatest performance. Also, that was at BJ Penn's height of his career.
Okay, so I got totally off track. Take us into the fight, because this is actually going to be a barn burner, fantastic fight. I can't even believe the UFC is. I mean, I hate to tell them this, but yeah, this is the fight that I'll pay pay-per-view on. If everything else is streaming, I'll still pay-per-view this.
I'm not 100% sold on Chiesa, not because he doesn't have the skills. He's a great fight. I mean, he's got great grappling skills.
Yeah.
He is somebody that comes out strong. We've seen him pacing the cage before the fights and stuff. And he sometimes gets a little bit too worked up, I feel like. I mean, the Kevin Lee fight, he was doing good in, but then Kevin Lee got him mounted up. It was a controversial finish and all that. The Anthony Pettis fight was the fight that I think kind of stands out to me, not because Pettis and Sanchez fight anything similar. It's that I saw Chiesa kind of start fading in the Pettis fight, and Pettis was able to make him pay, hurt him a little bit, slow him down a little bit, and Chiesa's kind of showed if he does get slowed down a little bit, he's vulnerable. Diego Sanchez doesn't slow down, even at 38, 39 years old. Diego's going to continue to press the pace. I think this is a good fight. I do think that Chiesa has the size and youth in his favor, so I think he is the favorite. Diego, I think, is just he's got a lot of miles on him that Chiesa doesn't. And I think it's going to be a primarily grappling fight. But, man, I'd like to see Diego win this. I'd really like to see Diego go in there and get another win. He'd be on a 3-5.
Miguel, if Diego wins this, what happens to him? Where does he go?
Well, Damian Maia called him out.
I mean, does that fight happen?
I don't know, but it makes sense. You know, you got guys that are, you don't want to tell Diego, hey, you won 2 in a row, go fight Khabib, or something like that. So
yeah,
it's almost a little bit like, you're starting to head towards the Bellator geriatric league. I'm all right with 40-year-olds fighting 40-year-olds if they still are on the level of Maia and Diego Sanchez. It'll still be a compelling fight. I wouldn't put him in with young killers or anything like that at this point. Maia's looking for one last fight, and he called out Diego Sanchez, so he's got just that in mind.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, and I hope that fight doesn't happen. There's a lot of different fights I'd rather see, but whatever comes of it, what are you guys going to pick on this? Who are you calling?
I'm going to call Chiesa by decision, unfortunately.
Miguel?
Yeah, I'll go with the heart. I'll take Diego.
I'm going to take Chiesa, and I'm going to say that I'm going to say he submits him. The guy's ground game is pretty phenomenal. The only thing that would stop that is if there's a lot of blood, which in Diego fights we always know there's a lot of blood.
I think Diego will get bloody if it's going to be a stop. I don't think he submits him.
I don't know. I just think Chiesa. I think it's his time. I think
Diego's ground game is better than Chiesa's.
I don't argue that his grappling is better, but I don't think his submission skills are anywhere near that. Chiesa's got some pretty bizarre submission stuff that you just don't see very often, and I think he's kind of a new breed, and I really like watching him. But I don't doubt anything anybody's saying about it. I think this is anybody's fight, and I hope Diego wins. I really do. I love the guy, and Diego, please come on the show. Come and see us. We love you, man. We miss you. Okay, so anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap this one up? Then we've gone pretty long tonight on this one.
I'm gonna get this transferred over to YouTube, and I've been putting out a lot of short stuff, and I do think we need to do something. This is such a big card. It's International Fight Week. I think we need to come back on the day of the fight and do kind of a last minute just review.
I would also call both of you guys out and have a discussion about you guys can take you're Greg Jackson and John Winklejohn, and I'll take my Matt Hume any day of the week. Thank you.
Whoa! Oh no, that's not even really fair. You really can't even put that in the same. Okay.
No, I can tell you this. Winklejohn and Greg Jackson have a great reputation. I think the question is much more complicated than that because it comes down to at some point the fighter and the trainer have to have a personal relationship, and if that's not working out, you could be as happy with the greatest trainer as you want, but if you're not connected to him, it isn't going to lie. I'd have to see if he fought for a UFC title, but I've been told by UFC veteran that he wouldn't go near Greg Jackson. Greg Jackson never fought before.
I think you both are.
That was his opinion. So I think if that personal connection's not there, even Matt Hume, who would be my choice, won't work for you if you don't appreciate his style or you're not buying into what it is. So it's a very complicated question, but it'll be a fun discussion.
I think you both are missing it. Romero, Covington, Masvidal, Dustin Poirier. It's ATT down there in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely biased to that. I mean,
here's the problem: I'm building under. Do you give Ricardo Liborio credit, or are you giving Dean Thomas credit for Tyrone Woodley? Or there's just too many. You can't just say ATT because it's not a guy.
Yeah, because it's not one person. I mean, you got Pena. He's marching in people constantly. They usually send him to Australia now because I don't think anybody else wants to go anymore. And so somehow Marcos D'Amatis gets pushed into that, I guess. But yeah, Ricardo Liborio is ATT. But I mean, do you see him in anybody's corner anymore? Conan Silveira is in all the corners in the UFC in the US. So is he the guy that's really training them, or is he just working corners? That's a whole different mess. And I don't disagree with you, ATT Nation. I love it. I love ATT. And
one man to train you for a fight. I'll take Matt Hume. Thank you very much.
I would agree.
I would still take Greg Jackson on that. And I'll tell you why.
On that list too.
Who's that?
Zahabi's on that list too.
Yeah, I don't deny that one either. But here's why I take Greg Jackson. Greg Jackson has a specific way of relating to almost any fighter that will listen to him. Whereas Matt Hume he's going to be, you're doing it this way. This is the way we're going to do it, and this is what's going to work. Because the guy's a genius. They don't call him the wizard for nothing. So I mean, I don't disagree that Matt Hume is fantastic. He's amazing. And obviously look what he did with DJ. But I don't know. That's pretty hard to say because Jackson's got an awful lot of belts on his wall.
This is a little bit off of subject, but just to close with this, because we got a couple months before we're going to be talking a lot about this fight coming up. But man, Masvidal's interview with Joe Rogan when they were talking about ATT down there in Florida, they talked an awful lot about old DP that he was calling him, Dustin Poirier. And Masvidal was saying since he hit his stride at some point in his career and credited the weight moving up in weight.
Yep.
He said he kept calling him DP. He's like, DP is mean. He's like, that boy knocks people out in the gym all the time. He's like anybody who discredits Dustin Poirier right now will do so at their own. Well, that boy's going to be ready.
I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a whole bunch of fighters realize what, and I know I've said this before, so it's a broken record, but I think we're seeing them realize what Chris Lytle has known all along, was that if you just stay in your lane and you don't try and drop 30 pounds, that you can fight 3 rounds or 5 rounds or whatever you need to do, and you can fight hard, and you can fight your game, and you can stay fresh, and you can have a longer career that way, that rather than cutting. Because when you're cutting weight, that's extremely hard on the body. It's exhausting, and it mentally breaks a fighter after a while. They just don't want to do it anymore. It's like, oh, I get a cheat day, so I get to eat 2 chicken breasts dry instead of 1. I mean, Man, I've been there. That shit sucks. And cutting weight sucks. And when a guy can feel good going into the ring because all he had to do was train, it makes an awfully big difference. I mean, pounds, fine, but cutting 30 pounds is a big difference.
Here's a question I have for both of you guys before we sign off.
Okay.
Who has the best chance of pulling off the upset? Santos over Jones, Edgar over Holloway, or Poirier over Khabib? That's a hard one. Who has the best chance of pulling off the upset of those three?
Holmes over Nunes.
Well, I didn't even count those. Edgar over Holloway, Poirier over Khabib, or Santos over Jones? Which one?
Poirier over Khabib.
I think the Raiders can win the Super Bowl.
I think Edgar has the better chance of beating Holloway because we've never really seen him against a real, true wrestler like that.
A really short, stocky wrestler. Yeah,
Dude, I'm not sleeping on Dustin Poirier, though. I'm really not. I'm becoming more and more convinced from what I'm hearing from his gym. But that's down the line. None of us think that Jones is going to lose. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, we all kind of hope so, though, right? So
yeah. That'd be
isn't that something?
I want to see Johnny Walker get up in there. So
I think you're crazy on that one, but I want to see what happens with that. He's exciting, he's interesting, but I just can't see him. I don't know. Who knows with the new training systems they've got out there? You know, they can take a guy who's talented and say he's talented. Give us 8 months with him, and we'll turn him into, and give us the right fights, right management, and yeah, we'll turn this guy into a superstar who's actually taking souls. And so you may be right on that, but I don't buy him. I don't see it in him. But hey, anyways, this is Cadillac. That's Miguel Iterati. The guy there on the end is Devin Miller, and this has been the CRP, and we're talking about UFC 239 fight week in Las Vegas. It's going to be crazy. We've got the 4th of July, and then right after that, July 6th, Saturday night, everybody's going to be banging. We need to probably do it. We probably need to do a prelim card on this, guys, and talk about this tomorrow. If we get time, let's sit down and do a prelim.
Sounds good.
All right. Until next time, namaste.